Hi, I'm Charlene. I graduated from J.P. Stevens in 2009, and I'm a current freshman at Harvard University. I'm just here to talk to you today about a little bit about the transition between college and high school, and to maybe give a little bit of advice that you might find helpful.
What was the biggest challenge or difference from being a high school senior here locally to being a freshman at Harvard?
Well, I think that the biggest challenge between being a high school student here and being a college student is basically adjusting to new people. And so, I mean, I think that in high school here, especially within the public school system, you go from your elementary school to your middle school, but you have your elementary school friends. You go from your middle school to your high school, but you still have your middle school friends. Whereas I think that, when I started off at Harvard, I only had one of my friends from J.P. Stevens, and that was basically about it. So, it's all about learning about new people, about adapting to new people. And especially if you, you end up going to a large university, you'll find people with such a diverse background, basically. So, people from chess grandmasters to international students from Germany and China, so on and so forth. And I think that the experience there, it is a challenge, but I think it's also one that's really enjoyable to encounter.
You talked about some of the activities you're involved with within high school, going from 7 clubs to 4. Is there anything in hindsight you would have done differently, knowing what you know now from your high school experience?
Yeah, so, I mean, when I started off for freshman year in high school, I just couldn't decide what clubs I wanted to get involved in. So, I was involved in, everything from Key Club to Yearbook to Newspaper Model UN and so on and so forth, right? The list goes on. And eventually I discovered that, some of those clubs just didn't fit my interests. And when I discovered that, I was just like, well, weighing the cost and benefits of it, would this look better on my college application? Then I would be, miserable or even just bored doing it. And ultimately I decided that, well, it's not worth it, right? Because it's all about, you only have 4 years in high school to enjoy yourself. And the sad thing is this, that once you go to college, you might not actually see the majority of your friends in high school, for a really long time. And because of that, I think that the most important thing is to not engage in such a competitive environment where you're all, competing to be president of such and such club, or, to be the head honcho of whatever organization, but rather to just really enjoy yourself with your friends. Because, ultimately, everybody goes off to different destinations after 4 years, and even if you go to the same college, Rutgers or something, you'll probably never, encounter them maybe once a month, if that. So ultimately, you should find your passion, and I think that that's the most important part.
Mm-hmm. What was the biggest adjustment as a current student at Harvard? Was it the intensity of the workload, or is it the academic rigor, the faculty challenging you, or even your peers?
So it's very, very academically rigorous, and there's this sort of reputation that there's grade inflation, don't even worry about it. Well, I'm looking at my transcript and I'm like, what grade inflation? But I think that it's definitely it's the professors challenging me as much as it was my peers challenging me. And I think that to engage in the academic discourse is just a conversation from a party, on Friday night can actually extend into some, sort of discussion about Cold War history. That has actually happened to me before. And, I think that that's one of the most amazing parts of going to school like Harvard. And it's really just the people who are there to challenge you to be more than just, an empty walking shell of A's and B's and, 2,300 in your SAT versus 2,400 in your SAT. And, I think that ultimately when you find those people, when you find those friends to hang out with, that's really the joy of learning. And that's where most of learning actually happens.
Is there advice that you would give to students, parents, and faculty in the area, knowing what you've gone through and experienced as well? For example, we talked also about the ethics or integrity and pressure from parents on their students on the college admission process?
Yeah, I mean, I would have a couple recommendations. I mean, first would be to actually institute an ethics class in high schools. I don't think that that ethics is really taught very universally, very uniformly across the board at high schools. You know, there are some teachers who emphasize it a lot, that you shouldn't plagiarize, and some who, you know, might only spend maybe 5 minutes, 15 minutes on it. And I mean, I think that, you know, that's not really the fault of the teachers themselves. That's really that's really something that the school should institute as a class. And because I think that a lot of the cheating, you know, that might have gone on at my school, you know, in part that was because of students trying to get an easy way out because they were too busy doing something else, and too busy, you know, either studying for another test or too busy writing an essay, so they copy somebody else's homework for, you know, a math class. And I mean, ultimately that's a little bit ridiculous, right? So I mean, I would say that to institute an ethics class, to establish this set standard of honors, you know, an honors code basically, and to enforce that students behave according to this honors code. I think that that's really important. Second of all, I think that that parents should maintain positive encouragement upon their kids, but not be helicopters. I think that there's a difference between, you know, positively encouraging your kid to, you know, oh, have you done your homework yet? Have you, you know, studied for your test yet? Versus, you know, I want you to get an A on this test, or you know, you got less than an A, this is unacceptable. I think that parents should encourage their kids more so than they should force them to achieve a certain standard, because ultimately I think that for most students, you know, excelling is a source of happiness, and I think that for most students, you know, who doesn't want to get an A, right? I mean, I don't think that any student actually wants to, you know, get a C or get a D, and because of that, I think that parents should reach out to them, get them more resources, get them whatever resources that they need, because sometimes also, you know, students can be a little bit reluctant to, you know, to even ask for a tutor or even ask for something that they need. And third of all, I think that what students should do, I think that students should really reach out to as many resources as they can. You know, I mean, there's a certain, like, myth of the teacher's pet, right? But ultimately, you know, the person who talks the most to the teacher, who makes the teacher their resource. You know, in college we have office hours for professors. You know, professors aren't on your back. They're not, you know, gonna like force you to do your homework or force you to do your essay. That's up to you. But, you know, when you go to their office hours, when you speak to them, you know, they can offer you so much encouragement. They can offer you so many ideas because they're really brilliant people. And I think that as a result, you know, students even at the high school level should really reach out to their teachers. Mm-hmm.
Was there a mentor that made a difference in your life, whether it be at home, your family, or faculty, here or at Harvard?
Yeah, I mean, you know, throughout my entire life, my mentor has really been my older sister, and I've considered myself very, very blessed to have this sort of mentor who would just really keep me grounded and be very honest with me. And I think that that's really the most important when one is looking for mentorship. And you know, you want somebody who is preferably older than you. I feel that, you know, peers can sometimes, I mean, it's human nature to be a little bit competitive, and so I think that you should look for somebody older than you, somebody who, you know, is in your area of interest. Perhaps, you know, somebody who could gain you networking opportunities, or you know, not to say like edit your essay or, you know, do your homework for you, but rather to just sort of, you know, offer you general guidance, to say to you, you know, look, you're 17, you should not be having like this like 2-page resume, you know, change it up somehow. And I think that sort of information, which keeps you grounded as, you know, ultimately, you know, you're 16, you're 17, you know, you don't need to be acting like an adult just yet. You know, as much as you think that you need to, you know, pull off this very mature image to get into the college of your dreams, you don't really have to. It's ultimately about the youthfulness that you bring to the college. It's ultimately about, you know, this like fresh new face. That's why we call new students freshmen, right?